Chinese archaeologists open a 1400-year-old coffin, and what they discovered inside shocked the world. Xi'an, a name that resonates deeply with anyone fascinated by Chinese history. This city was once the capital of several dynasties and has witnessed countless dramatic changes over thousands of years. But what few people know is that beneath the concrete and steel of this vibrant modern city lies a hidden underground world full of ancient secrets. Among these, one particular discovery sent shivers down the spines of archaeologists. As skyscrapers began rising across central Xi'an, builders had to dig deep foundations. In doing so, heavy drilling equipment accidentally uncovered a secret buried for over 1,400 years. In 1957, at what appeared to be just another ordinary construction site, a group of workers noticed something unusual about the soil. Stones seemed deliberately arranged, and an unfamiliar structure slowly emerged. Archaeologists were quickly called in. Through careful excavation, they identified the site as a royal tomb from the northern Zhou to Sui dynasty period, dating back to the 6th century. The tomb belonged to a young girl named Li Jingxun, the granddaughter of Empress Yang Lihua. Though she passed away at the tender age of 9, her burial was lavish beyond imagination, surpassing even that of Emperor Wen of Sui, the ruler of China at the time. Li Jingxun's stone sarcophagus was no ordinary coffin. It was designed in the style of a palace, complete with a carved domed roof, showcasing the masterful craftsmanship of ancient artisans. Archaeologists stated that they had never seen a sarcophagus with such artistic and historical value. Inside was a veritable treasure trove, countless pieces of jewelry and precious stones. Among them stood out a stunning necklace made of gemstones and pearls, so exquisitely crafted that it is now on display at the National Museum of China. Another extraordinary artifact discovered was an oval-shaped glass bottle, manufactured with such sophisticated technique that even modern experts were left in awe. Clearly, the glass-blowing skills of over a millennium ago had reached an astonishing level few would have believed possible. But what truly sent chills down everyone's spine was the inscription on the lid of the sarcophagus: "Whoever opens this shall die." Was this a real curse? For over 14 centuries, not a single tomb raider dared to disturb the site. Could these 4 words have protected the grave all this time? Some scholars believe it was simply a psychological deterrent. Yet others subscribe to a more heartfelt theory, that Empress Yang Lihua, who adored her granddaughter more than anyone, had those words engraved to guard Li Jingxun, even in the afterlife. A message from a grieving grandmother's broken heart, transformed into a curse forever etched into history. Perhaps we'll continue debating the true meaning of that ominous inscription. But one thing is undeniable: the past never truly stays silent. Fragments of history and memories buried deep underground will one day resurface, reminding us that no matter how advanced we become, humanity will always be drawn to the mysteries of time. What do you think about the phrase, "Whoever opens this shall die"? Is it a curse or an eternal act of love? Whatever your answer may be, the story of this ancient tomb in Xi'an not only stunned the world with its mystique and grandeur, but also reminds us that beneath seemingly quiet earth, there are secrets beyond imagination waiting to be discovered. And it's not just Xi'an. All around the world, the journey to uncover the past continues quietly, sometimes with a single accidental shovel hit, other times through excavations lasting years. The results are often spectacular stories, from untouched tombs in Egypt to the 1,000-strong terracotta army in China to entire cities buried under volcanic ash. Now, let's take a step beyond the borders of ancient China to explore some of the greatest archaeological discoveries ever recorded. Monuments that didn't just reshape history, but also force us to re-examine the origins and evolution of human civilization itself. The Mummified Infant. On February 3, 2018, while cleaning out the home of their late mother in North Yorkshire, England, the 3 Thompson siblings, 1 son and 2 daughters, were shocked to uncover a terrifying secret that their mother had hidden her entire life. While cleaning under the stairs, they discovered a box, just over 18 inches long, tucked inside a drawer. Inside the box was an envelope and the mummified remains of a small baby, wrapped in layers of clothing. Overwhelmed and frightened, they immediately took the box to the nearest police station to have it investigated. Detective Sergeant Matthew Wilkinson from North Yorkshire Police stated that after inspection, it appeared to be the mummified body of an infant, placed inside the box sometime in the late 1950s or early 1960s. The letter found in the box was dated August 1968. DNA testing later confirmed that the infant was indeed the child of Carol and Melvin Thompson, making it the full sibling of the 3 living Thompson children. Strangely, however, no one in the family, including Melvin Thompson himself, had any knowledge of the baby's existence, except for Carol. Despite efforts to investigate further, authorities were unable to determine how or why the child died, or why the mummified remains were hidden in the house on Dexter Way. Assistant Coroner John Broadbridge described it as the most unsettling case in his 25-year career. He added that it was unclear whether the baby died before or after birth, but there were no signs of trauma to the bones. "This is a tragedy, heartbreaking and incredibly sad," he said, that their mother carried such a painful secret to her grave. Carol and Melvin Thompson married in 1968 and divorced in 1996. Carol moved into the Dexter Way residence in 2004 and passed away in January of that year. All 3 of her surviving children were born after 1968, which means the infant they discovered was, in fact, their older brother. 700-year-old ancient tomb, engraved with the name, Great Sage Equal to Heaven. In the 1980s, a mysterious discovery in Fujian Province, China, captured the attention of the archaeological community. An ancient tomb was accidentally found atop Mount Baoshan. What caused a particular stir were 2 stone tablets at the site, engraved with the titles Tomb of the Great Sage Equal to Heaven and Tomb of the Heavenly Sage Supreme. Despite the wear of time, the curiosity surrounding the origins and true identity of the tomb's owner remained undiminished. After meticulous research, archaeologists concluded that the tomb dated back to the Yuan dynasty, a period marked by rich cultural and mystical elements in Chinese history. The tomb was not merely a final resting place for 2 enigmatic individuals, but it also contained numerous relics associated with monkeys, an animal deeply woven into Chinese folklore and mythology. Historians and archaeologists began to speculate. Could the tomb's occupants have been the real-life inspirations for the character Sun Wukong, the Monkey King, in Journey to the West, one of the 4 great classical novels of Chinese literature? Journey to the West, believed to have been completed around 1590, tells the story of the monk Tang Sanzang and his disciples on a pilgrimage to obtain sacred scriptures. Among the disciples, Sun Wukong, titled The Great Sage Equal to Heaven, stands out with his supernatural powers and remarkable personality. Adding to the intrigue was the presence of about 23 feet iron staff discovered within the tomb. This immediately drew comparisons to Sun Wukong's magical weapon, the Ruyi Jinggu Bang, and raised questions. Could this tomb be more than just a symbolic homage? Might Journey to the West contain traces of actual historical elements rather than being purely fictional? While many theories have been proposed, some experts argue that the titles Great Sage Equal to Heaven and Heavenly Sage Supreme were products of imagination, possibly created by an enthusiastic admirer of the novel who sought to recreate its legendary elements through tangible artifacts. Another intriguing theory suggests that the Monkey King may have been inspired by a real mythological being named Wujiki, said to have lived in the Huai River. Wujiki was described as possessing immense strength and the appearance of a large ape. Wu Cheng'en, the author of Journey to the West, is believed to have drawn from such myths when crafting the vivid and dynamic character of Sun Wukong. To this day, the true identity of the tomb's owner remains an unsolved mystery. Debates and hypotheses continue to emerge within the archaeological field. Some believe the tomb belonged to actual individuals who may have later inspired the creation of Sun Wukong, while others view it as an artistic or religious expression reflective of the cultural imagination of the time. Regardless of the truth, this discovery adds a compelling layer to China's rich tapestry of history and culture. It opens new avenues for research into the origins of literary masterpieces and fuels the imagination of those passionate about exploration and knowledge. The Tomb of the Great Sage, Equal to Heaven and the Heavenly Sage Supreme in Fujian, China, will undoubtedly continue to be referenced as an inseparable part of the intricate and colorful story of Chinese heritage. The mysterious hanging coffins. Despite surviving for thousands of years, these hanging coffins continue to baffle modern experts. Many believe that ancient civilizations lacked the technology and capability to carry out something so complex. How did they manage to lift coffins weighing hundreds of pounds up steep cliff faces without leaving a single trace? The mystery was so compelling that an archaeological organization offered a reward of 400,000 yuan, about $55,000 USD, for answers. The plot thickened when a local farmer claimed he held the key to the ancient secret. Hanging coffins were a burial practice of some of China's ancient ethnic minorities, where coffins were placed on wooden beams inserted into cliff walls. In some regions, they were set inside natural caves located dozens of feet above the ground. Among the most famous sites is Mount Longhu, Dragon Tiger Mountain, in Jiangxi Province, where rows of hanging coffins line sheer cliffs above a vast river, creating a breathtaking and mysterious scene. This setting raises the obvious question: how did the ancients move these heavy coffins into such treacherous locations? According to experts, each coffin could weigh more than 660 pounds, and yet many remain intact after thousands of years. Despite numerous expeditions and studies, no definitive answers have been found about the techniques or tools used. In 1978, an archaeological team was formed to study the hanging coffins at Mount Longhu. With help from locals, researchers discovered that the people buried in the coffins likely belonged to the Baigui ethnic group, who lived around 10,600 years ago. The Baigui people resided in mountainous and river-filled areas, so cliffside burials may have been part of their cultural traditions. However, the greatest mystery remains: how did they manage such a difficult task? In 1989, a longtime resident of the Longhu mountain area claimed he knew the secret behind the burial custom. The farmer described a pulley-like device that might have been used by the ancients to hoist the coffins up the cliffs. Experts tested the theory and found it plausible. They successfully lifted heavy objects using a similar mechanism. But here's the catch: no physical evidence of pulleys or similar tools has ever been found on the cliffs. Even more puzzling is that there is no historical record indicating that the Baigui people had access to such technology. Rope-making and load-bearing tools at the time were not advanced enough to accomplish such feats, at least based on what we know. Though the pulley theory offers some explanation, critical gaps remain. Lifting coffins to cliff faces nearly 330 feet high still presents a massive scientific challenge. Archaeologists have tested various methods, but none have proven entirely convincing. Could the ancients have used a technique that modern science has yet to uncover? Or is this simply one of the many enigmas history has left unsolved? While the technical mystery behind the hanging coffins remains unanswered, research and exploration continue. Perhaps with future advancements in technology and archaeology, we will someday solve this ancient puzzle. Hanging coffins are not just rare archaeological artifacts, they are monuments to the creativity and determination of ancient people, igniting endless curiosity and admiration. In the end, this may be a mystery that never finds a complete answer, but it continues to inspire generations of scientists, historians, and explorers. Do you believe that one day we'll finally discover the truth behind this 2,000-year-old secret? I believe we will. What about you? The Strange Dragon, found in ancient tomb. In 1959, a farmer from Daohua Village, Shilo County, Luoyang City, Shanxi Province, China, was plowing his field with his ox when he discovered a dark hole in the ground. Upon investigation, the farmer realized it was an ancient tomb and reported it to the local Cultural Heritage Committee. While waiting for the archaeological team to arrive, several locals descended into the tomb to search for treasures. However, before they could go inside, they suddenly noticed that the earth below the tomb had turned a red color, resembling blood. Terrified, they fled and did not dare to look back. When the Shanxi archaeological team arrived and investigated, they confirmed that the tomb was large and of high significance. Inside the tomb, there was a significant amount of cinnabar, which caused the red color resembling blood. The tomb dates back to the Shangzhou period, approximately 3,000 years ago. After more than 20 days of continuous excavation, the archaeologists unearthed over 50 bronze artifacts from the Shangzhou period. These included a complete set of bells, 7 bronze collars, and many other large and small bronze items. Based on the unearthed items, the archaeological team concluded that this was a noble's tomb from the late Shang dynasty to the Zhou dynasty. A month later, the team finished classifying the artifacts and packed them into boxes. The next step was to transport them to the laboratory for cleaning and restoration. Just as they were about to leave, a heavy rain began to pour. One archaeologist suddenly remembered that an artifact had not yet been removed, so he and a colleague ventured back into the tomb through the rain to retrieve it. As the rain intensified, the water inside the tomb rose quickly, soon reaching knee-height. The two archaeologists carefully made their way through the water when one of them stumbled over something hidden beneath the water. Almost falling, his colleague managed to steady him. Puzzled, the archaeologist thought to himself, "Everything should have been cleared out. What could still be left in this tomb?" He reached down into the water and felt around for a while, eventually unearthing something unforgettable, a bronze dragon with sharp, menacing teeth. Shocked, he rushed outside shouting, "I found a treasure! Everyone, come and see!" The other archaeologists, who had been busy packing, stopped their work and gathered around. They saw that the bronze dragon had a very unusual shape with intricate patterns never seen before. A specialist immediately suggested, "Contact the police as soon as possible. There might still be more artifacts inside." To prevent the theft of any remaining valuable cultural relics, the archaeological team quickly submitted a request to the local police to secure the site. A group of officers arrived shortly afterward and took turns guarding the tomb. After examination, it was confirmed that the dragon was, in fact, a green bronze wine vessel. It measured 17 inches in length and 5 inches in width. The belly of the dragon was curved and swollen, with a flat-cut tail and a hook-shaped ornament on its back. The overall shape resembled a dragon boat anchored on water with a truly unique design. The archaeologists confirmed that they had never seen a dragon like this before. Based on the style of the artifact, they believed that it was a wine vessel from the Shang dynasty. Not only that, it was made of green bronze, and due to its material and age, experts stated that it had significant value, potentially even a national treasure. They named it Longxing Guang, meaning dragon-shaped wine vessel. To trace the origin of the Longxing Guang, the archaeological team gathered clues from across the country. Eventually, they discovered its owner. It belonged to the father-in-law of Zhang Zia, a founding minister of the Zhou dynasty in the 12th century BC and the founder of the state of Qi in ancient China. Legend has it that when Zhang Zia served under King Wu of Zhou, he hosted a banquet at home to welcome the king. Food and wine were served, and King Wu was drawn to a wine vessel shaped like a dragon, which hung from the ceiling by a rope. Its posture was dignified, and with a slight lift of the dragon's tail, wine would flow from its mouth. King Wu greatly admired the vessel and asked Zhang Zia about its origin. To the king's surprise, Zhang Zia avoided revealing its history, prompting King Wu to stand and prepare to leave in anger. Zhang Zia hurriedly explained that the wine vessel had been made by his father-in-law to pray for innocent lives lost due to King Zhou's cruelty. Afterward, Zhang Zia's father-in-law gifted the vessel to him. When Zhang Zia's father-in-law passed away, Zhang Zia buried the vessel in his tomb. Thus, the experts confirmed that the owner of the ancient tomb found in Shanxi was indeed the father-in-law of Zhang Zia. This tomb and the items found within have significant value for archaeological research. As for the dragon-shaped wine vessel, it has been designated as a national cultural relic by the State Administration of Cultural Heritage and is prohibited from being exhibited abroad. It is currently on display at the Shanxi Museum in China, where it is showcased as a national treasure in the main hall. If you have the chance, you may visit and admire it there. The Forbidden Land of 700 Years in China. When people talk about the army of over 8,000 terracotta warriors of Emperor Qin Shi Huang, many are awestruck by its scale and admire the ingenuity of the ancients. However, an archaeological discovery in a remote mountain village in southern Hunan province, China, might make some reconsider. Deep within a mountain range so densely forested that sunlight barely penetrates lies a mysterious abandoned village called Guangdong Village. According to historical records, the village has existed for over 700 years. Local villagers have passed down stories from their ancestors that the mountain surrounding the village is mystical and is referred to as a forbidden land. For generations, no one dared set foot on the mountain alone unless war or natural disaster forced them to approach its base to perform rituals or offer prayers. Village elders have long warned locals to stay away, fearing it would bring misfortune. For 700 years, the village remained completely uninhabited. But things began to change mysteriously about 30 years ago. After heavy rainfalls, villagers began to notice strange stone statues appearing at the foot of the mountain. These stone figures came in various sizes. Some were only about a foot tall, while others were nearly life-sized. This raised a compelling question. Why were there stone figures in this remote mountain area? Curiosity soon overtook fear. A group of brave villagers decided to venture up the mountain to find out what lay beyond the forbidden land. However, shortly after entering, they fled in panic. They described intense winds, thick fog, and eerie, incomprehensible sounds that seemed to fill their minds. Disoriented and terrified, they ran back down the mountain. After that, no one dared to return. Some villagers proposed reporting the incident to the local Cultural Relics Bureau. A team of experts was quickly assembled to investigate the scene. Upon close examination, archaeologists observed that the statues ranged in height from about 12 inches to over 3 feet. The crude craftsmanship suggested that many of the figures dated back around 5,000 years, placing them in the era of the legendary emperors Yao and Shun. Determined to uncover the truth, the archaeological team pushed forward into the forbidden land, confronting the 700-year-old legends that had kept people away. Eventually, they reached the village safely and were stunned by what they found. Before them lay a scene straight out of legend. Tens of thousands of stone statues, as though they had entered a lost kingdom of stone guardians. There were figures in all sorts of poses, sitting, standing, soldiers in formation, officials holding memorial tablets, and mighty generals frozen in time. The diversity was overwhelming. Experts consulted ancient texts from before the Qin dynasty and speculated that this might have been a massive sacrificial site, possibly even the burial ground of Emperor Shun, a revered ancient ruler. Many of the stone figures, they believed, were carved by future generations to accompany his spirit in the afterlife. What's more, archaeologists discovered that some statues were buried underground, hidden from view for centuries. The discovery of tens of thousands of stone statues sent shockwaves through the archaeological community across China. Experts now believe this may be the largest known collection of ancient stone statues, possibly rivaling the Terracotta Army in scale and historical significance. Today, the site has been officially designated as a protected cultural relic, guarded carefully to preserve its mysteries and heritage. This discovery has been hailed as one of the most astonishing archaeological finds in modern Chinese history. The Tomb and the Cursed Tablets. Can you imagine that beneath an elegant, centuries-old hospital in the heart of France lies a mysterious Roman-era burial ground? And within that quiet underground realm are cursed lead tablets, amulets engraved with an extinct language once meant to invoke the gods or bring harm to enemies? This is exactly what was uncovered in one of this year's most baffling archaeological finds. A forgotten graveyard beneath an 18th-century hospital in Orléans, located about 75 miles southwest of Paris. During restoration work on the old hospital, archaeologists unearthed more than 60 wooden coffins lined along a crumbling wall. Many of the coffins still retained faint traces of color, untouched by cremation. These signs led researchers to suspect this was no ordinary cemetery. According to the Orléans Archaeological Service, the individuals buried here may have belonged to a specific social group, perhaps people of the same profession or status. But the real mystery was yet to come. Inside 21 of the graves, archaeologists discovered something entirely unexpected. 21 deficciones, or curse tablets. These were thin pieces of lead, about the size of a human palm, inscribed with strange writing, pierced with nails, and buried with the dead. But these were no ordinary burial items. In ancient Roman culture, such tablets were used to communicate with the divine, to ask the gods to curse enemies or grant wishes. Each one was a prayer, a plea, or even a grudge sent into the afterlife. One particularly notable grave contained a man buried with a curse tablet placed between his legs, along with a broken clay jar and several coins, perhaps part of a ritual meant to guide the soul to the other side. After excavation, the tablet was sent to a restoration lab, where experts used reflectance transformation imaging, RTI, a modern technique that reveals eroded inscriptions. What they discovered was astonishing. The text was written in Gaulish, a branch of the ancient Celtic language family that has been extinct for centuries. Although the Roman Empire conquered Gaul, local people continued to speak Gaulish in daily life, though very little was ever written down. This made each surviving text a rare treasure for linguistic scholars. Imagine it. Someone over 2,000 years ago, in a moment of desperation, engraved their final message in a fading native tongue onto a fragile piece of lead and buried it with themselves, either to appeal to the gods or to leave a dire warning for the future. This discovery doesn't just offer insight into the Gaulish language, it opens an entirely new window into the spiritual and cultural lives of the native people under Roman rule. These weren't passive subjects, they preserved their identity, their rituals, and their language in secret ways. The excavation at Orléans is expected to wrap up by the end of this month. All the materials, cursed tablets, coins, pottery shards, even coffin dust, will undergo detailed lab analysis. Scientists hope these findings will further unravel the mysteries of these cursed men and the hidden stories beneath the silent soil. A cemetery buried for millennia. Curses written in a language lost to time. Secrets hidden in the earth, now slowly coming to light. Have we truly understood the past? Or are we just scratching the surface of a vast, sunken iceberg? It's a question we may not answer just yet, but with each new discovery, we inch closer. The Mummified Girl, buried for nearly 150 years, but still looks asleep. In one of the busiest cities in America, San Francisco, where traffic horns blare, life moves fast, and skyscrapers crowd every inch of space, no one could have imagined that beneath the garage of an ordinary house lay a secret buried for nearly 150 years. The story began in May 2016, when a group of landscapers doing routine garden work stumbled upon an unusual metal object. Digging deeper, they unearthed a solid bronze coffin, less than 3 feet long, intricately crafted and resting silently in the cold earth. The lid of the coffin featured a foggy glass window, and through it, the sight left everyone breathless. The body of a young girl, with curly blonde hair, pale skin, and a face perfectly preserved, as if peacefully sleeping. She lay dressed in a pristine white Victorian-era dress, wearing knee-high boots with lavender flowers in her hair and a small floral cross held in her hands. Although nearly a century and a half had passed, everything inside the coffin, from her body to the accompanying items, remained astonishingly intact. Experts quickly got involved and concluded that the extraordinary preservation was likely due to the special airtight construction of the coffin. Sealed with no gaps or exposure to the elements, it significantly slowed the natural process of decomposition, effectively capturing a living photograph of the past, as if time had stood still. But who was this girl? Why had she been buried so quietly and anonymously beneath a home for so long without anyone knowing? To find answers, the nonprofit organization Garden of Innocence took on the case. The investigation took over a year and involved tracing old cemetery maps, historical records, and modern technology such as DNA testing. Eventually, the girl's identity was uncovered. Her name was Edith Howard Cook, born in 1873 and passed away on October 13, 1876, just weeks before her 3rd birthday. Her cause of death was determined to be severe malnutrition. There was no evidence she had been treated with common medicines of the era, such as morphine or mercury, suggesting her passing was quiet, during a time when medical knowledge was still limited. The breakthrough came when the team discovered an old cemetery map at the University of California, Berkeley. That led them to the burial sites of Edith's parents. Further DNA testing eventually identified a living relative, Peter Cook, an 82-year-old man living in Napa, California, who shared genetic markers with Edith, confirming their shared lineage. When informed, Peter was deeply moved and said, "I jumped for joy. I finally connected the missing pieces of our family tree. Now I have a special story to pass on to future generations." After hearing the full story, Erica Carner, the current homeowner, decided to arrange a respectful reburial for Edith. In June 2016, she was laid to rest again at Greenlawn Memorial Park in Colma, California. A heart-shaped headstone was erected, giving her a new name, Miranda Eve, engraved with the words, "The child loved by the world. If no one mourns, no one remembers." Edith's, Miranda Eve's, story is more than just an eerie coincidence. It is a touching reminder that while time may bury bodies, it cannot erase memory. And as you can see, with each excavation and every discovery, we're offered a chance to bridge past and present, giving names and stories back to the forgotten souls of history. Isn't that something truly extraordinary? Ancient board games. unearthed from tombs and caves in Azerbaijan. In today's tech-driven world, you may have spent hours pondering your next move in a game of chess or tic-tac-toe. But did you know that this seemingly ordinary pastime is tied to a historical journey that spans thousands of years? A team of archaeologists from the Netherlands and the United States recently uncovered a surprising secret. 6 ancient game boards, estimated to be 4,500 years old, were excavated in Azerbaijan, a region straddling Eastern Europe and Western Asia, known as a crossroad of ancient civilizations. Led by Walter Christ of Leiden University and Rahman Abdullayev of the Minnesota Historical Society, the team discovered these game boards not only in elaborate tombs, but also in caves once inhabited by Bronze Age hunters. What shocked researchers the most was the design. All the boards featured patterns resembling the game Hounds and Jackals, an ancient board game long believed to have originated in Egypt. But this time, the boards were not buried beneath pyramids or within pharaohs' tombs. They were found among grasslands and rocky terrain in Azerbaijan. Previously, scholars believed Hounds and Jackals was invented by the Egyptians, based on a board recovered from the tomb of a Middle Kingdom official. However, new evidence from the Absheron Peninsula and Gobustan Reserve is forcing archaeologists to rewrite the narrative. Some of these newly uncovered boards are older than those found in Egypt, pushing the game's origin back by centuries. This raises a provocative question. Could the true birthplace of the game lie in Western Asia, not along the Nile River as once thought? Even more fascinating is that the boards weren't confined to royal settings. They were also found in caves where ordinary people once lived. This has led scholars to realize that board games served as more than just entertainment. They were tools of social connection, cutting across geographic, class, and cultural boundaries. From herders in the Caucasus to Assyrian traders in Anatolia, pyramid builders in Egypt, and Eastern nobles, all were captivated by a seemingly simple game. The board became a space not only for amusement, but for communication, strategy, negotiation, and even moments of equality, where a commoner could checkmate a king. So next time you're deep in a game with friends, you might be reenacting a habit shared by prehistoric humans over 4,000 years ago. In that moment, you're not so different from an ancient Egyptian or a hunter in Western Asia, united by a love of tactics, clever moves, and the thrill of victory. In a world often divided by language, class, and belief, these boards have become what researchers call social lubricants, bringing people closer together without the need for many words. This discovery not only enriches the history of gaming, but also invites us to reflect on our shared humanity. Just imagine, the next time you place a piece on the board and look at your opponent, you're not just playing a game. You're participating in a tradition that's lasted over 4 millennia, stretching from Egypt to Azerbaijan, from royalty to the everyday person. The Secret Letter of Empress Dowager Cixi. Throughout China's long and glorious history, one name continues to spark both fascination and fear: Empress Dowager Cixi. She wasn't just the most powerful woman of the Qing dynasty. She symbolized a dark, turbulent era of imperial decline, political intrigue, and resistance to change. Born in 1833 with the name Yulan, she hailed from the noble Yehe Nara clan, a prominent Manchu family. At 17, she was selected to enter the imperial harem, marking the beginning of a fierce struggle for power that would eventually lead her to the very top of the empire. No one at the time could have imagined that this delicate, willow-like girl would go on to rule China behind the scenes for nearly half a century. Starting from the lowest rank in the palace, Cixi gradually gained Emperor Xianfeng's favor. She rose from noble lady to concubine Yi, then consort Yi, and eventually became the noble consort, largely thanks to giving birth to the emperor's son, Zai Chun, who would later ascend the throne as the Tongzhai emperor. Her fate changed dramatically in 1861, when Emperor Xianfeng died, leaving the 5-year-old Zai Chun as heir. According to the emperor's final edict, state affairs were to be handled by a council of 8 regents, known as the 8 Regents of State. But Cixi had no intention of sitting silently behind the curtain. She realized that if she let the regents control the court, she and her son would become mere puppets. So, alongside Empress Dowager Xian, who seemed gentle but was equally shrewd, Cixi conspired to overthrow the regents. With support from Prince Gong and other allies within the court, she launched a historic coup. The regents were dismissed, exiled, or even executed. From then on, Cixi officially ruled from behind the curtain, directly managing state affairs even as emperors nominally remained on the throne. She held power for 48 years, not just during Tongji's reign, but also under Emperor Guangxu and briefly under Emperor Xuantong. One woman controlling the fate of an entire nation. Yet the mysteries surrounding Cixi have never ceased to stir debate. During a renovation of the Forbidden City, archaeologists stumbled upon a hidden letter left behind by Cixi. Its contents shocked the entire team, not just for its political scheming, but also for its surprisingly poor grammar and spelling. Though history records that Cixi mastered the 5 classics, was fluent in Manchu, and had read all 24 official histories, the 237-character letter contained 12 spelling errors. Even more astonishing was a handwritten copy of the Heart Sutra found alongside the letter. Written in her own hand, the characters were sloppy, rushed, and lacked the reverence and elegance one would expect from such an influential figure. This discovery raised a provocative question. Was the image of Cixi as a highly educated, cultured woman just a facade she carefully constructed? Could it have been part of a strategy to instill fear and respect in her subjects and hide her own vulnerabilities? Was she the mastermind behind her myth, shaping even historical records to project an image of terrifying perfection? Cixi was a paradox, ruthless yet clever, ambitious yet insecure. She initiated reforms, only to stifle them later. She used her position as the emperor's favorite and mother to seize power, yet her influence contributed to the tragic downfall of both the Tongji and Guangxu emperors. Today, the Qing dynasty has long since collapsed, and Cixi has turned to dust. But the debates, secrets, and power games she left behind continue to haunt Chinese history. Was she a tyrant, or a political genius, a ruthless ruler, or a victim of her era? Feel free to share your thoughts below. Let's discuss. 130,000-year-old baby tooth found in the mountains. On May 17, 2022, scientists and archaeologists made a special announcement in the journal Nature Communications, which caught the attention of many. They had excavated a tooth in a small cave called Cobra Cave, located in the Annamite Mountains in Laos. The researchers believe the tooth belonged to a young girl who lived at least 130,000 years ago and was likely a Denisovven, a mysterious group of early humans first identified in 2010. The Denisovens, one of the closest relatives of modern humans, are thought to have diverged from their Neanderthal relatives around 400,000 years ago, with the Neanderthals migrating across Europe and the Denisovens heading east toward Asia. While many Neanderthal artifacts have been discovered, Denisovan remains have been extremely rare. In fact, all the Denisovan bones and teeth ever found could fit into a bag the size of a sandwich bag, all of which were discovered in Siberia and Tibet. However, scientists had long suspected that the Denisovens ventured further south. The discovery of this tooth in Laos now strengthens that belief. The recent discovery, published in Nature Communications, shows the incredible range where the Denisovens once lived, from frozen mountains and plateaus to the humid lowlands of Southeast Asia. Archaeologist Laura Shackelford remarked, "This makes me think about how similar they were to us. It's a sign of modern humanity." The Denisovven tooth might be one of many new discoveries, suggesting that much more remains to be uncovered in Southeast Asia. For nearly a decade, the only known remains of Denisovens were a few teeth, a pinky bone, and a skull fragment found in caves in southern Siberia. Then, in 2019, a surprising announcement revealed the discovery of a Denisovan jaw, known as the Shahe mandible, in the Baixia cave on the edge of the Tibetan plateau. The overall shape and internal structure of this molar resemble other Denisovan teeth previously identified in Tibet. The fossil remains of this mysterious group are exceedingly rare. The newly discovered molar from Laos may help scientists unlock many secrets about the Denisovens. Clément Zanoli, a co-author of the study and paleoanthropologist at the University of Bordeaux in France, explained, "The tooth is like a little black box of a person's life. Its shape, internal structure, chemistry, and wear patterns could preserve information about age, diet, and even the climate of their environment." The research team analyzed the fossil tooth from Cobra Cave and determined that it belonged to a young girl, between 2.5 and 8.5 years old. Due to the high temperature and humidity, the specimen was poorly preserved, making it difficult to precisely date. However, using protein analysis and 3D X-ray reconstruction, The scientists estimated that the tooth dates back between 131,000 and 164,000 years. In the next phase of their research, the team will analyze the oxygen and carbon chemistry of the tooth enamel to learn about the climate where this Denisovven girl lived and the food she consumed when the tooth formed. Dear friends, perhaps the most fascinating thing about archaeology is not just the ancient artifacts thousands of years old, but the spine-tingling feeling when we touch a piece of history that remains intact. Each discovery leaves the world in awe because it not only reveals what happened in the past, but also makes us question, how much do we really know about this world? What about you? Which discovery impressed you the most among those shared? Please leave your thoughts in the comments below. Also, don't forget to give the channel a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Now, goodbye and see you next time.